Hello, my name is Peter Parfitt. Welcome to the New Brit Workshop. I get a huge number of questions about cordless drilling, and so I've decided I really do need to do a little bit more about it. Now, I've already made videos about the BHC18, the PDC18, and also the original CXS. But things have changed and there are more Festool drills available now. So I'm very grateful to Festool UK for lending me a couple of the drills here, and also to a friend of mine who's also been very generous and let me borrow some of his drills for a couple of days too. Now, what I intend to do is to cover in this first video the TXS and the CXS, and these are the two newest cordless drivers from Festool. I then will do a separate video on the C18. I've had a lot of questions about that in particular. And then I'm going to make a third video, and the third video will be a sort of which Festool cordless drill do I need type video. And it'll be a sort of whistle-stop tour through the whole range. But this video is about the CXS and the TXS. The TXS and the CXS are essentially the same machine. They just have a different body layout. They both come with a 10.8 2.6 ampere hour battery. They both come with a chuck, and this has a capacity up to 10 millimeters. They both come with the angle attachment, which we'll see again shortly, and they both come with the Centratec tool chuck. And they each share the same MXC charger, which is at the back here. They both weigh the same at 0.9 kilos. And their torque ranges are the same, and in every way, as far as performance goes, they are identical. Now, in the UK, and as far as I know in the rest of the world, there is only one version of either the CXS or the TXS, and that comes in a sustainer, a small sustainer like this, and whichever it is, it will come with the charger, the angle attachment, the chuck, a spare battery, and also the Centratec tool holder. So this is what you'll get as a complete kit, whether it's the TXS or the CXS. Now, both machines have the same controls. There's the speed switch here, it's in position 1 or 2. 2 is normally for drilling and 1 is for screwing things in. There's a torque control here, it goes from 1 to 12, and there's an extra position there for drilling. The on-off trigger is here, and there's a direction button just above the on-off trigger. Both machines have a work light. They're positioned slightly differently. The one on the CXS is here, and on the TXS it's just here. The CXS has a magnetic tool keep area, and it will take up to 4 normal hex bits in there. The TXS has a simple arrangement just above the battery here, and it will take 2 bits. Now, there's one point I want to make at this stage. This is the original CXS, which I've had for a long time, and it came with exactly the same MXC charger. However, this battery, the original battery, was only 1.5 ampere hours. Of course it will fit in that charger because it's the original charger. And the new battery, which is 2.6 ampere hours, of course, fits in there as well for charging. And out of interest, the new battery also fits that original CXS machine. So if you're like a friend of mine who has, I think, 3 or 4 CXSs, he's also got 2 or 3 TXSs as well, each with a different tool, and he's grabbing one, off he goes. He can interchange these batteries with no problem whatsoever. And of course, because Festool is a system, you can take off one tool from here, and all of these are completely compatible. Right, I'm now going to demonstrate the CXS and TXS. I'm going to swap them over from time to time. They're both the same machine, and I will be taking them just a little bit beyond the specification that Festool recommend. But I've got every confidence that's not a problem whatsoever. I've got all sorts of bits of wood here. I've got some plywood, which is about 19 millimeters thick. I've got some tulip wood, a block of it. And I've got a block of veneered MDF here to protect the top of my MFT3. But I'm going to start with something very simple. This is an 8mm Forstner bit. It's Centratec ended, so I just pop it in the Centratec chuck there. I'm putting it into the drilling position 2, and on here there's a drilling position right at the top end here. Got my block of tulip wood, and here I go. Well, that was pretty simple. That's all the way through with no problem at all. I'll do another one. And there we go. That's 2 holes. Very simple to do. I'll remove that, put that back. Let me now switch over to the TXS. The 2 drills are the same. I'm just putting the chuck on this one, and I'm going to put this long drill in here. It's an ordinary twist drill. I'm in the drilling position, position 2. I'll go through sideways this time. One does need to clear the rubbish that comes out from time to time. And that's all the way through. Right, I've got the TXS now. I've just taken the Jacobs chuck off. I'm putting the Centratec chuck on. Very simple as that. And I'm putting on this Torx bit in there. I've got this Torx screw here. Now it's a little bit beefy, so I'm going to clamp my piece of wood in place just so it doesn't run away with me. There's no pilot hole here. This is just in position 12, speed 1, and let's see how I get on. Well, there we go. That is actually in through to the MDF now. Now be careful if you demonstrate this to a friend, because sometimes these screws get quite warm, particularly after you've put them through a solid lump of wood with no pilot hole. So I'm now going to take that out. I'm going to put this Forstner bit in. It's 20mm in diameter, and I've put it into speed 2. And that's all the way through with no problem at all. I'm sorry about the mess here. It's always like this on a Friday. Right, so that's some simple things. We now really need to take it just a little bit further. So you remember I did a pilot hole here somewhere. There's a pilot hole. It's 5mm in diameter. Again, I'm going to clamp this into position like so. And somewhere or other I have got this coach bolt. I've put a 13mm socket there. I'm going to put this into position 12, speed 1, and it's got the 5mm pilot hole. That's a lot more than 5mm. Let's see what happens. Well, it went in, didn't it? Well, I think that's pretty good to get that far in, frankly. And at no stage did the automatic electronics, which both the CXS and TXS have got, at no stage did it complain, saying, whoa, stop. So the only thing that stopped it was the torque setting. Well, let's cheat. Let me turn that round to the drill side and see what happens. Let's see. Well, there we go. It's all the way through because it's starting to push up now. It didn't complain at all. I hope Festool aren't too cross, because this is one of theirs, going back to them very shortly. Okay, so that's the TXS. CXS would be exactly the same. Well, let's try something just a little bit different. I switched over to the CXS, position 1, torque setting 10 or 11. And these screws I'm putting in, I think, are roughly 50mm by 5mm. Now we need a piece that goes across the top. Now the reason I've made this is to demonstrate the angle attachment. It fixes on in the normal way of any other little accessory. On it goes like so. It's in position. You can still adjust the torque setting, which is here, and I'll set the speed at 1. And now you could, for example, attach the Centratec chuck, and you could then put in a normal bit holder like that. I'm going to screw this screw in underneath here. Unfortunately, with this bit holder, it's too long, but you can take this off, and you can take the bit out of the end and just stick it in the end there. So now you've got a fairly diminutive little setup, and I'll do my best to demonstrate this. So you can see you can put in screws in some pretty confined spaces, and this space here is about 98 millimeters there, approximately. Now, if you've got a bit more room, you can take the bit out of the end there and use the normal Centratec chuck with whatever Centratec tool that you might wish to put in the end. It might be just this ordinary bit holder if you've got a bit more room. You could put the Jacob's chuck in there. So you can do all sorts of things, and you can get into some quite tight spaces. Now this would be absolutely brilliant if you were doing a kitchen, and I know some of the cabinets have got some fairly tight spaces, but you still need to get some screws in, either to screw one cabinet to another or to fix the cabinet to the wall, whatever it might be. Having an attachment like that is going to be really useful. Now both the CXS and the TXS are super small drill drivers. My CXS is my go-to drill driver, and I use it more than anything else. Now, don't take my word for it. Go to a show or go to your local Festool dealer and put one in your hand and try it out. It's important because the machines have the same spec, they're just a slightly different style. You may prefer one style to the other. You might want to get them both, of course. Thank you very much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.